Wild Coast's Paloma Aguirre stands just a few hundred yards north of the U.S.-Mexico border. She's in Goat Canyon. It's one of 5 places where sewage-tainted water from Mexico flows freely into the United States.
It's catastrophic. For anybody who doesn't know this area or about this issue, it's very simple. It's one of the biggest environmental disasters that our country suffers every single year. And now with climate change forecasting more intense storm events, we're going to see this problem exacerbated over time.
Goat Canyon is actually a success story of sorts. Aguirre is standing beside 2 large catch basins that keep sediment from swamping wetlands in a nearby state park.
Whenever it rains, it's a canyon, it drains, the Los Laureles Creeks flows across the border and into this area.
There's a pollution collector nearby that routes tainted water flow to the International Wastewater Sewage Treatment Plant. That facility was built to help treat cross-border flows during dry weather. Meanwhile, these catch basins keep sediment out of sensitive habitat just a few hundred yards away. One key feature is the small fence that reaches across this basin.
These are the only types of trash booms in the entire Tijuana River Valley. They're highly effective, especially for for high floatables. As you can see, there's a lot of plastic bottles, there's a lot of foam. And that is because in Mexico, in the state of Baja California, and in the city of Tijuana, they don't have a formal recycling program.
What happens if this barrier is not here and these plastics and the tires and the sediment reach the wetlands that are just over the hill there?
I mean, we had a case where there was a construction project in Tijuana, so they just cut the hillside there. There was no plan for sediment control, and all of that excess sediment destroyed about, I think it was between 30 and 40 acres of wetland and salt marsh habitat. So it's incredibly detrimental to the system. And obviously plastic input into the ocean. Marine debris is one of the biggest challenges we will face in the next decade or two. We have studies that overwhelmingly come to consensus that we'll have more plastics in the ocean than fish by 2050.
The catch basins and trash booms were put in place by state officials to protect sensitive habitat at Borderfield State Park, and Aguirre says there are lessons here for other locations in the Tijuana River Valley. Just a short distance to the east, the bridge over Dairy Mart Road separates a wide sweeping valley and more rugged river habitat. This sturdy concrete structure was built after flooding washed out the old bridge in the 1990s.
This is the point where the river forest or the riparian habitat begins. So a lot of the trash and tires that are carried by the storm flows become trapped in the vegetation. And whatever is not trapped makes its way downstream into the estuary and ultimately into the ocean.
On this side of the bridge, the river valley is open, but this bucolic stretch of land changes dramatically when rain drenches the region. The small trickle of a river during dry times can become a raging torrent of swirling pollution.
When there's a strong storm event, this can be completely covered in water, and the river can be flowing at a rate of 1 billion gallons of water per day, most of which is completely sewage tainted and polluted.
Aguirre would like to see some of the lessons from Goat Canyon applied here. She says catch basins could capture wet weather sewage flows, sediment, and trash. She says the International Wastewater Plant on this side of the border and Tijuana's sewage system frequently fall short.
There's a pump station right at the border that is capturing all of that flow and sending it south from us, preventing that flow from coming across the border. The problem is that pump station breaks down all the time because it gets clogged with sediment, because it gets clogged with trash. So some of those, when that pump station fails, and some of those flows could be captured by the sediment basin.
Aguirre says the tainted water that currently fouls the ocean and forces health officials to close South County beaches could be held until it's treated. Federal officials say a lack of funding keeps them from building that infrastructure, but local critics say there is a lack of will. That's why Imperial Beach, Chula Vista, the Port of San Diego, California, and Surfrider San Diego are suing the federal government. They hope the courts compel the International Boundary and Water Commission to stop the cross-border sewage flows that pollute U.S. waters. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.